Metroid Other M, such an ambitious title for the franchise. Trying to blend the new with the old in terms of gameplay, a slight return to the series' roots with an art style that resembles the classic games. It introduced a new gameplay approach that made Samus look like a ruthless powerhouse, and who could forget such memorable moments in its story such as,
"You don't move unless I say so, and you don't fire until I say so."
Okay, I think we all got that by now. Can we please move on?
Alright, we all know about the big issues Metroid Other M had in its writing. And like I stated to death in my previous video, the Wii mode really limited a lot of what the gameplay could have offered. But these are risks that show us that the franchise has potential to expand, try out new ideas, trend to new ground, all in the efforts to avoid the formula from becoming repetitive. And for that, I appreciate what Other M tried to do, in giving us a new adventure with a gameplay completely different to what we've seen before. But you guys clearly aren't here to listen to yet another person pointing out the flaws in this game on the internet.
If you are, I'm sorry, but please don't go. Just keep watching the video. It's good. I promise.
Rather continue feeding the fire that has been going on for the past 7 years. Sheesh, fans do know how to hold a grudge.
Nintendo, where's my new Metroid game? No, that doesn't count.
I'll instead try to play psychologist and find out the answers to Other M's biggest mystery. Why was Samus so obsessed with a Baby Metroid? I mean, she's killed thousands of them in the past, and all of a sudden she decides to have a complete 180 and become in love with a little green jelly thing that she spent all of her time destroying. I guess they're kinda cute, but they don't want to suck her life force. Regardless of our views on the game's storytelling, it was always sort of a mystery to me why would Samus feel such strong emotions towards a Metroid. I mean, I kinda get Adam and the Choso since they sort of raised her, but why a Metroid? And I feel that there's a deeper connection between the two that sadly never got developed in the story. But we can still manage to figure it out using the power of fan theory! So before I begin, let's go back in the timeline and find any events that could have influenced the behavior in the opening of Other M. Further back.
Just in time.
Keep going. Almost there. Oops, you went too far. But actually, I need to state that Other M doesn't take into account the events that occurred in the Prime Trilogy, and instead follows the story directly after the first 3 Metroid games. So for the sake of this video, I took this into consideration and decided to pretend to be a Nintendo representative and try to forget that the Prime Trilogy was ever a thing, and only focus in the events I referred to in my previous video as the Metroid threat. Now with that out of the way, we can jump straight into the ending of Metroid 2. A quick refresher from what happened in this game. Following an attack on Samus from Metroid Zero mission, Samus was tasked by the Federation with destroying all the parasites on their home planet SR-388.
Can we give this planet a proper name so it's easier for me to pronounce? How about Ceres? Oh wait, that's a boss in Fusion.
After destroying all of the Metroids, Samus witnessed one last baby hatching from its egg and somehow confuses her for its mother, and is later passed on to the Federation to see if we can learn more about their powers and use them for good, until a distinctive purple pterodactyl pirate decides to steal them. So how come this little baby managed to leave such a big impression on Samus? I mean, sure, it did save her life after being overwhelmed by Mother Brain and grant her with a hyper beam, but I think it's more of what happened before the final fight in Super Metroid that is important. If we go back a few moments before the finale, the enraged giant Baby Metroid attacked Samus, and when it realized what he had done, the baby felt sad and flees, symbolized by the sound it makes before running away. At this point, maybe Samus is starting to realize that Metroids aren't just mindless creatures driven by a hunting instinct, and perhaps they could have an ability to feel. So, is there more to what happened on SR-388 to leave such a mark on Samus? Well, it took me quite some time of speculating, but in the end, I think I can simply explain it as this. Samus sees herself projected on the Baby Metroid.
What? Are you serious? Is this a joke?
Sure, it might sound a bit skeptical, but let's look again at what happened in Metroid 2. Samus, an alien to planet SR-388. Sheesh, we really need to give this planet an easier name to pronounce. Arrives with one sole intention: to wipe out every single Metroid until the species goes extinct. Wow, that is dark when you don't sugarcoat it like the game tries to do. It's all for the greater good. The greater good. Shut it! And Samus never stops to ask or even question this and goes to destroy the Metroids without a second thought. Heck, even their queen isn't showing any mercy, so why stop at one defenseless baby Metroid? That was your mission. Just kill them all, it doesn't matter. I thought this was a necessary evil to avoid them from being used as weapons in the future after all.
Metroids are lethal. Their extinction was a wise decision.
Sure, you might say, Samus is not heartless enough to kill a hatchling, she has a heart. But the reality is that Samus was shocked. Something about this spoke to her. We clearly see it at her hesitation to kill it. And this is because she simply saw herself as the baby Metroid. Now, I can hear you type in the comments by this moment.
When will all of this start making some sense? Please get to the point.
You know, the big problem is that some of the biggest moments that build up to this connection are never mentioned in any of the games. But instead, on those two Metroid mangas I've mentioned in the past that only came out in Japan. You can still read them over in the Metroid database, just so you know. In the mangas, we get to see a lot of Samus' story before the events of the first game. And in here is where we can start getting the ideas of the connection she might have felt towards the baby Metroid. Similarly to how the baby Metroid became the last surviving member of its species on planet Ceres, Samus was also the sole survivor of the space colony K2L at a young age after Ridley decided to launch an attack. At the end of Metroid 2, she saw the baby Metroid as her younger self, while at the same time feeling as if she was Ridley. Samus perhaps realized that her actions were somewhat similar to those of the space pirates when they attacked her home, to even her confrontation against Ridley when she was a defenseless child. With this in her mind, there's no way Samus could just kill the baby Metroid and instead grows a bond with it. The hatchling seemed heartless towards her, and she took this as an opportunity of having someone she could call a family after the Chozo vanished. This was one of the closest things she could relate to the species, since both Samus and the Metroids are results of the Chozo's experiments in technology. So, if it meant a lot to her, then why just simply give the baby Metroid to the Federation? Well, like we tried to determine before, Samus might be a powerful killing machine, but she isn't completely heartless. And perhaps seeing the baby just brought back more haunting memories of her past and reminded her of what she did on SR-388. So in an attempt to try and let go of her past, she hands over the Metroid into the capable hands of the Federation, in the hopes of finding something good that can come out of studying the species until Ridley decides to steal the baby. At this point, Samus might not necessarily be chasing the pirate in order to keep the galaxy safe from another Metroid attack, but it can also be seen that she's fighting to get back what she considered a family. And with its sacrifice at the end of Super Metroid, Samus witnessed what she called a family being destroyed once again by the hand of the pirates. The rage building up in her heart unleashed in the form of the Hyper Beam, to the point that when Samus explodes, it's almost like Samus finally closed a chapter in her life and can now finally move forward. So in the beginning of Other M, she's not simply recovering from a fight against Mother Brain, Samus is also grieving the destruction of the place she once called home and the death of someone who to many would just seem like a normal creature, but to her it was more of a family member. After the fight in Ceres, the galaxy might have finally gained peace, but Samus lost something that she might never recover. If only this aspect was explored in Other M's story, then perhaps we could have appreciated a bond that could have meant so much in the lore of the Metroid universe, and have a much different opinion towards Samus' sadness in the beginning of the game.
No, wait. We will still have this guy to ruin everything.